What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I have some good information to share with you guys today. There was a new bill that was introduced, and I think a bill like this will keep these politicians from waiting till the last minute in order to make decisions and create these situations that don't even need to be created when it comes to the debt ceiling. And we always talk about government shutdown in September because they don't want to move forward with a budget. So I think this will help. Now, this is coming from the Problem Solvers Caucus. I'm going to show you guys the clip, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it. But first off, if you guys can do me a favor, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that little bell notification, and then click all. By clicking all, you'll get notified anytime we post a video. We do daily videos here, so by clicking the bell notification and clicking all, you should be getting updated every day. And just a reminder, if you're not getting notifications, let me know in the comments below, and follow me on Twitter at the TEC Show Live. Okay, so let's get right over to this clip here. This is the Problem Solvers Caucus. They're going to be talking about this new bill that they introduced. Here we go.
Joining us right now for more on the debt ceiling standoff are the co-chairs of the bipartisan House Problem Solvers Caucus, Democratic Congressman Josh Gottheimer of New Jersey and Republican Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania. He introduced a bill that would prevent members of Congress from getting paid during a default. Gentlemen, welcome. Congressman Fitzpatrick, that's a brilliant idea. How'd that go over in Congress?
Well, it should be common sense. I've also introduced similar legislation when we have a government shutdown. In fact, I wrote a personal check in excess of $10,000 of my own funds back to the Treasury when we had a shutdown in my first term. I think, it shouldn't take that type of incentive to force members of Congress to do their jobs. But if that's what it takes, so be it. And myself and Abigail Spanberger introduced a similar bill with respect to the debt ceiling. Why
the heck didn't they pass it?
Well, it just got introduced, and hopefully it gets taken up. I also introduced a stock trading ban for members of Congress that covers everyone from Matt Gaetz to AOC and everyone in between. We tried to get that taken up for consideration last Congress unsuccessfully. Hopefully the fate of that bill changes this Congress.
Can I add one thing to your legislation? Maybe not only does Congress not get paid if the debt ceiling is defaulted on, but there's no back pay either. So if it takes you 3 weeks to work it out, that's 3 weeks of lost pay.
That's actually a really good idea, because a lot of the politicians, what they'll do is they'll just think, okay, well, we'll get the check eventually. They'll probably save up prior to situations like the debt ceiling and situations like the budget, because they know that they're probably going to wait until the 11th hour. Or they could even default, or they could even go in a situation where we have a government shutdown. And so they'll just save money up for that. And then they'll purposely go into a default or something like that, knowing that they have this money and knowing that they'll be able to receive all the back pay in the future. So you cut that out and you make it a situation where they don't get paid if they don't work. And if they don't come to some type of a resolution, then they don't get paid and they don't get that money back. I totally agree with that.
Correct. And that's an important distinction, because a lot of people will introduce, a lot of state legislators across America, by the way, have introduced a gimmicky bill that basically just delays pay. It doesn't forfeit it completely. It should be forfeited. And that's what our bill does.
Great. Congressman Gottheimer, good to see you this morning. Why don't you tell us where you think things stand right now? Do you feel like there is a deal that's going to get done? Because it certainly sounds like it after everything we've heard the last week.
Well, I think first and foremost, we know that a deal has to get done, right? It's not an option to default and to not pay our bills and to send the markets and our reputation in the world into a tailspin. So I think there's a deep recognition, and I think it's a good thing. We've now focused the players in the room, and I know they're incredibly hard at work. So that's good. And we've got to go fast because time's not on our side, as Secretary Yellen said. So to me, that's good progress. Brian and I and the Problem Solvers Caucus for months now have been pushing for people to sit down and actually talk. We've put out ideas, I think, good ones in terms of calling for suspending the debt ceiling, taking that off the table as an issue and not playing politics with the full faith and credit of the country, and also setting up a bipartisan commission to deal with longer term fiscal issues in our country, because we have to deal with both. And so hoping that's going to be the outcome of these negotiations.
So the Freedom Caucus has been complaining about some things that might be changed. The progressives on the other side have been complaining about things they don't want to give away. Do you guys feel like you're getting what you want, basically, if there is some agreement that's worked out between the two sides? What do you think, Josh?
Well, I think if it's worked out on both sides, we're going to get what we want, right? I mean, we need that. Everyone's not going to be happy with everything. That's to me always a good deal if everyone's a little upset. And it's not going to be perfect, but the bottom line is we're going to make sure that the full faith and credit of the United States continues. Make sure that we don't give China, the government of China, any gifts by defaulting, and that we pay our bills and we do the right thing. So to me, listen, it's going to be tough choices on both sides. I know that's what the parties are working on now. But in the end, we just cannot afford to even think of defaulting. I know some of our colleagues on both sides might think that's a good idea. That is a terrible idea for our country and for people's savings and 401ks and pensions.
Brian, the Problem Solvers Caucus put forth a while ago, I think it was several months ago, something that kind of said, here's how we can find agreement between the two sides. Is what you're hearing that's being discussed right now kind of reflective of that, or are there places where it broadly differs?
Well, the only difference is I haven't heard any talk about a fiscal commission similar to Simpson-Bowles to deal with the long-term sustainability of our debt and deficit. That doesn't mean that wouldn't be brought on the table, but this is exactly what our caucus does. We're a bipartisan centrist group that give a signal to leadership both in the House and the Senate as to where the points of intersection are between moderate Democrats and moderate Republicans, which, that centrist bloc makes up the majority of Congress. We don't want the extremes controlling the day. We want the pragmatic people that reflect really the majority of Americans. Mostly what's being discussed right now is very similar. The only exception is the long-term commission, which I referenced. But I just want to say this. The fact that the president and the speaker are sitting down one-on-one, negotiating in good faith, that is exactly what we want right now. And that's a very, very good indication for what's to follow.
So that was the Problem Solvers Caucus. And it's really sad that we actually have to have a Problem Solvers Caucus. You would think that all politicians, they get elected, they should be solving problems. That's the reason why they're there. But you have to have a separate caucus that's a Problem Solvers Caucus. And then the rest of the politicians in D.C., I mean, I don't know exactly what you would call them, because there are a lot of them that just spin things and they don't do things. And it's really, really a sad situation. Now, one more thing that I think that they should add to any type of, they should be introducing as well, this Problem Solvers Caucus. They should be looking at the pay. Okay, so we've talked about cutting the pay, but what about the pay in general? $174,000. I've always said that they should make the national average. That's what they should make. They shouldn't make any more. Now, you will have people arguing that, well, if they made the national average, and let's say, we'll just throw a number out there, let's say it's $56,000 a year. Let's say they made that. The problem with that is now they're more vulnerable to special interests, right? They're more vulnerable to these corporations that might come in and say, wow, they only make $56,000. Let's see if we can give them some perks and kind of get them in our corner, which realistically is already happening. Even though they're making $174,000 a year, they're still influenced by these corporations. But that's one of the arguments. They need to make that amount of money, $174,000. That way they won't be vulnerable to these outside interests. But like I said, I think that's already happening. But I personally think they should make the national average. So make it $56,000 or whatever it is, and they should grow with the American people. So if the American people are doing well and the national average for the American people goes up, then their salary goes up. Also, one more thing, they're talking about making cuts, rolling it back to 2022 numbers, which would be about a 22% cut for some of these different agencies like the Social Security Administration, Veterans Affairs. I think if they're taking a 22% hit, then the politicians should also be taking a 22% hit. Nothing should be off the table when it comes to fighting our deficit. And we have to look at the reality here. The politicians are the ones that got us into this debt. It's not the American people. It's actually the politicians that come in and say, okay, we'll take all these tax dollars and we'll spend them here, we'll spend them there. They're the ones that got us into debt. And so they should have to sacrifice as well. We shouldn't just see these cuts to all these different agencies and they're left with still making $174,000. Although their salary has been on pause for several years now, so they haven't received a raise in several years, but still $174,000. They don't have to receive a raise for another 20 years, and they'll still be over the national average at $174,000. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more. Have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.